So far, you have only learned how to insert data into a single table. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to insert data into multiple tables. Here's a really good example. Look at the orders table. What columns do we have here? We have the order ID, we have the customer ID, so we know who has placed this order, we know the date of the order, we know the status, comments, as well as shipping information. But the actual items for this order are not in this table. They are in the order items table. So in this table, we have 4 columns. We have the order ID, so we know what order this item is for. We have the product ID, so we know what product has been ordered, at what quantity, and what price. So an actual order can have one or more order items. This is what we call a parent-child relationship. So in this relationship, the orders table is the parent and the order items table is a child. So one row in the orders table can have one or more children inside the order items table. Now in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to insert an order and all its items. So you will learn how to insert data into multiple tables. All right, back to our query editor window. First, we need to insert the order. So insert into, let me close the navigator panel. All right, we want to insert a record into the orders table. Now, what columns do we have here? So we have these columns, but only the first 4 are required. And actually the first one, we don't want to worry about that because that's an auto increment column. So we only want to supply values for customer ID, order date, and status. So back to our query, we specified those columns here: customer ID, order date, and status. Now let's supply the values. In the customer ID column, we need to add a valid customer ID. So let's have a quick look at our customers table. There you go. In this table, we have 11 records. So these are the valid customer IDs. Now back to our query, let's use 1 for customer ID, and then 2019, January the 2nd for the order date, and 1 for the order status. Once again, in this column, we need to insert a valid order status ID. If we don't supply a valid ID, MySQL is going to yell at us. So we insert an order here. Now we need to insert the items. Now back to our order items table. In this table, we have this order ID column. So here's the tricky part. As soon as we insert an order, MySQL is going to generate an ID for our new order. Now we need to be able to access that ID in order to insert the items in this table. How can we do that? Well, back to our query editor window. In MySQL, we have a bunch of built-in functions, and a function is basically a piece of code that we can reuse, just like the functions or features in your TV. Every TV comes with a bunch of built-in functions like power on, power off, change the volume, change the channel, and so on. So MySQL and other database engines come with a bunch of built-in functions that we can use in our programs. One of these functions is last insert ID. We can call or execute this function by adding parentheses here, and this will return the ID that MySQL generates when we insert a new row. So before going any further, let's just select this and make sure we get the right result. Now we have a syntax error here because we didn't terminate the first statement with a semicolon. All right, now let's execute this query. All right, so the ID of the new order is 12. Let's verify that. So back to the orders table. Let's look at the data. On my machine, I have 12 records here. I actually created one just before recording this video. So on your machine, you're going to have 11 orders. Now back to our query window. Now that we know how to get the ID of the newly inserted record, we can use that ID to insert the child records. So we're going to write another insert statement, insert into order items. Let's have another look at the columns in this table. So we have 4 columns and all of them are required. So there is really no need to specify the column names in our insert statement. We simply supply values for order ID, product ID, quantity, and unit price. So here in the values clause, we add parentheses. What is our order ID? That is the value returned from calling this function. So I'm going to cut this from here and put it here. Next, we need to supply a valid product ID. Let's say product 1. Quantity, let's say 1. And the unit price, $2.95. Now let's delete this select. We don't really need it anymore. And let's add another set of values. So once again, we're going to call last insert ID to get the ID of the new order. We're going to change the product to product number 2 and add a different price. That's it. Now let's execute these statements and see what we get. All right. So back to our orders table. Let's refresh the records here. All right. So we have a new order, order number 13. Beautiful. Now let's look at the order items table. Here's the order items. Let's open the table. So we should have 2 items for order number 13. Beautiful. So this is how you insert hierarchical data in MySQL.